The nice thing about working with primitives like this is that it's nice, straight and forward. It's very visible what is happening. It is quite interactive. The downside is that you cannot do so very complicated things with it. And that is why many modern CAD programs, like computer-aided design programs, work with the method of sketching. So first you make a two-dimensional sketch, and that you make three-dimensional, and you can make two-dimensional sketch on several faces, so you can make nice and complex shapes without too much of a hassle. For that we go to part design, and in part design in the task bar we select create a sketch. On the XY plane, just to give you some understanding what X and Y means, is basically your table desktop, and the Z direction is what everything that goes up. So you have a feeling in which direction we are working. And we can create a new sketch. You can turn on the grid if you wish to, but I just want to show it without the grid. We use the polyline, and we just, out of freehand, we roughly make a kind of L-shaped thing. And you see, okay, this is done. And there are some funny red lines next to these lines, and these lines are so-called constraints. Constraints, you can also see it here, and that is that this line is defined now as a vertical. So I can pick it up and move it around, but whatever I do, it will always stay vertical. It also means I can put dimensions to it, whatever, it will always stay vertical. This line, for example, does not have such a constraint because I didn't draw it straight enough or whatever. And this means that this line I can also make inclined. I can also delete a constraint or add a constraint. For example, if I click here on a constraint and then I can delete it. So now this line is not vertical anymore. And if I pick it, well, it moves. To make it vertical again, click on it and get the vertical constraint. It's the same thing that we do here. And then everything's nice. So now everything is horizontal and vertical, but we have some more things to do. For example, I want that this point is exactly on the origin of the sketch. To do this, I select one point and the origin, so two green dots, and then I have the coincident constraint. So now, if I pick this point, you see, or this point doesn't want to move anymore, so that is fully constrained. And you see here we have still 4 degrees of freedom. It's okay, we are going there until we have 0. Next thing that we do, so if we have defined our shape, we are going to define the dimensions. So if I click on this line, it becomes green, and then I have this fix a length of a line, this diagonal arrow. Select exactly one line or one point and one line or 2 points from the sketch. What I have now is I have selected something double, apparently, which is okay. So I just click somewhere else in the 3D window, and then I click one time again on the line, and now I say make a dimension. And then the dimension comes, it's being placed rather randomly, so you can pick it and drag it outside of your sketch so it looks a bit nicer. And if you double click it, then you can change the size of it. So let's make that 40. To keep it nice and tidy, put it a bit there. And you can basically, like clay, put it in a way that you like it. And the exact dimensions then follow later. For example, this, if I now put the dimension, then it says 29.8. And of course I say, no, I just want to have it 30. That's all easy. If I now look again to the constraints, I see that there is 2 degrees of freedom left. And you can basically test it what that is. If, for example, if you pick this point, you see, okay, this can still move horizontally and vertically. So we also have to define that. And for example, the vertical freedom you can constrain by define this line or define this line. I will show you what happens if we do both. So first we define this line. Double click 10. So it doesn't want to move vertically anymore. And for example, if I now also make a dimension to this line, it says sketch contains redundant constraints. Please remove the following redundant constraint number 17, which is, go down into the list, which is this constraint that we put the most recently, because what we did now is that, okay, this size is 30 and this size is 10, so this size can only be 20. So by again telling that has to be 20 is just too much. So we don't do that. We'd only define it the way it should be defined. So if I now delete it, we still have 1 degree of freedom, which is this. So if I now put a dimension to this line, then it becomes green and it says fully constrained sketch. And the only thing I want to do now is to make this a nice number. 20, for example. And like this you can build very complex shapes and the basics for your 3D model, and that is what we will do in the next tutorial chapter. So now we have this sketch. It's all nice and green, fully constrained, everything's happy. I can even test it by pulling on some points and it doesn't move. So I completely defined this 2-dimensional sketch, which can of course be much more sophisticated than what I have here now, which is the power of this type of 3D modeling. So I now go out of the sketch mode to make it 3-dimensional. You can go out in 2 ways, which is this button, close the editing of the sketch, or just the escape button. And then it becomes white, and then you see in your project that you have a sketch. Of course, you can also rename it if you wish. Why not? Let's make it a L shape sketch. And also in the tasks, you see some things that you can do. And we are going to make a pad. And pad is making your sketch, adding something out of your sketch. You can have a dimension. And let's make that 30. Good. That's 3D. Now a very nice thing, nice way to continue is, for example, if we want to make a hole inside of here, if we would have done this with primitives, you insert a cylinder and then you have to position it here and so on and so further. But now we can do the same thing again, just by clicking 1 time on the face and then say create a sketch. You can do that here, but you can also do that here, just a sketch symbol. And then FreeCAD will turn your model in such a way that you look straight onto the sketch, and to not get confused which is the sketch plane and the higher part. As you see here, the grid lines going over this face, but here there are no grid lines, so we are going to draw in this area by putting a circle over here. Again, the sizes don't matter too much now, and we want to position it from this point, for example. Yeah. So select these 2 points, and then we say apply a vertical dimension. So not this distance, but a vertical dimension. and this vertical dimension is 15, 1,5. Now, for example, I want to define my circle, the center of my circle, to this line. And this line is not known yet in my sketch. Of course, FreeCAD knows that this line is here, but I cannot dimension from this line. So I have to get this line into the sketch of my circle. And I do this with this tool, create an edge linked to an external geometry. And then I click on this line, and then you see a kind of purple, pink, magenta line. And now I can use this line to make a dimension to this circle. So if I click the line and I click the point, and then I have to select the point. So only one point, and this is the other point, and then I make a vertical dimension, and I make this vertical dimension, I make that 10. So we have still 1 degree of freedom, and that is of course the radius of the circle. So if I click the circle and then I click define the radius, you don't really see it so well because it's putting it always horizontally, so it is a bit inside of the other dimension. So if you just double click it again or move it in a way that you can see it very well, and then we make that 5. So now it's fully constrained, hooray, and now we can make a hole. So if we close it, we can make, instead of a pad, we make a pocket, which is a pad, but then the other way around, or something that goes into the model. And by default it says I do it 5 millimeters, but we want to have it through the complete model. And of course I know that this is 10 millimeters, so I could say here, let's make it 10, then it's through. The problem is that for whatever reason I would make this not 10 but 12, then the hole would not go through again. So if you really know, okay, this hole should always go through no matter how much I change my dimension, then change this to through all. And then, well, the hole's going through. Just to give some understanding, okay, close this off, but okay. What we have done now, so for example, we know now that this hole is always 10 from this line, basically. So if now I change the L shape, so this is going to be not 40, but this is going to be 60. And I go out. Then still this hole is always on the place where we wanted it to be. If I now change the hole, where was I? It's the pocket, yeah, it's the pocket, and then change the sketch. For example, I don't want to have it here 15, I want to have it 12. I just can edit things like that around, and you can do that no matter how complex your model is, as long as you build it up in a way that you yourself still understand the intelligence of your model, then you can change it, which is very cool because that keeps you flexible in your design, and that's awesome. In the next tutorial I go to show you some more intelligent tricks in the sketch mode. So keep on watching.